morning, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Whew. Right out today. I wanted to talk a little bit today about Legend of Zelda again, but this time not Breath of the Wild, even though, yes, I am still playing Breath of the Wild, and it is extraordinarily popular. I wanted to talk today about what is kind of sort of my favorite, or definitely one of my favorite Legend of Zelda games, and that's Link's Awakening, the one for the original Game Boy. So there's a few reasons why I think that Link's Awakening is just top-notch and one of the very, very best in the series. And among them, clearly, is going to be that it was the first one that I owned and played. Now, I had played the first two, some. The first one, definitely, I would borrow it from friends. I'd play it while I was at their house. The second one, I remember playing, but I don't really remember understanding or getting through it very far. I don't even remember exactly how I felt about it. But I got a Game Boy almost as soon as it came out. It was a present. It was awesome. And so then when Legend of Zelda was announced, it looked really cool. It was really cool. And so I had really wanted to get one of those. I went through some extra efforts. I don't remember what they were, but I remember I had to struggle to actually get it. But then in the end, I got it. It was awesome. And played it. It was like, it felt like a Skyrim or a Morrowind, an Elder Scrolls type addiction to the playing of it. I did not want to stop. I wanted to keep exploring. And that has been my favorite aspect of Legend of Zelda games since the inception of Legend of Zelda. And this guy is causing gridlock. And I've always kind of wondered, wanted and chased that feeling. That was always my favorite aspect of Legend of Zelda, which is why I'm not a big Wind Waker fan, and why I really like Breath of the Wild and Twilight Princess. But there's a bunch of diatribes, there's a bunch of tangents in there. I'm going to pass over all of them. None of them have achieved the same feelings that I got from Link's Awakening. Now, I think the reason why, and if you've never played Link's Awakening, I'll give you a brief synopsis. Basically, Link is out on a sailing ship. They get caught up in a storm. He's knocked it from the ship. Possibly the ship is destroyed. He wakes up on an island, and the island is in trouble. There are monsters, and somebody tells him you've got to find these 8 musical instruments, then go up to the top of the mountain and play a song to wake the windfish so you can get home. Okay, that seems strange, but okay, I'll do it. It was the owl, right? The owl told him to do that. So he goes on an adventure that is very similar to the original Legend of Zelda game. You have to find the 8 dungeons, go into them, and get items from them so that you can get into the other dungeons, so that you can get to the last dungeon, defeat the boss, and end the game. So, no originality there. But you are on an island, and so the geography is a little different, the characters are a little different, there's a little bit of a story. In general, there's a little bit of a story here and there. And the thing that really gets me about the game, though, is, like I say, exploration. But what it is about that game, where exploration is so super critical, is that it opens it up to you in chunks. And by solving smaller puzzles, bigger puzzles are revealed. And by solving bigger puzzles, more areas are opened up to explore. And by opening up more areas to explore, you see more smaller puzzles, and with more smaller puzzles come more bigger puzzles. And then, eventually, that leads to the end of the game. It is very much a Castleroid Metroidvania style game, much more so than any other in the series. And that is why I think I really like this game. It's not just rose-colored glasses. I really do genuinely love this game. The thing about it is, you'll go out and you'll explore, and you'll come across these barriers, obstacles, roadblocks. There's this one cave where there's this jet of fire spurting out. You've got to get past it, but you don't know how. There are caves that are covered in these crystals, and you can't proceed further because these crystals are in the way. There's big chasms with rivers underneath, and you can't swim out of the river. You have to cross the chasm. But you've no way of crossing the chasm. And come to, if you find items, if you find the mirror shield, if you find the hook shot, if you find the Pegasus boots, you'll be able to pass through all these obstacles and open up new areas to explore. The original Legend of Zelda game did not exactly have that. There were entrances to dungeons that you needed items to get. You needed the raft to get across the lake. You needed the warp whistle to open up the tunnel. So there was all that, which makes sense. But it was only that dungeon that you needed to explore. It was not entire areas. I mean, in the beginning of the game, there's an entire forest that you can go into, but you can't exactly get out of because there's boulders blocking the paths, every exit path in the forest. Now, I don't know how other people feel about this. Frankly, I think it's awesome. I love the Metroidvania style of it. And here's another question. Is it Castleroid or Metroidvania? Not sure. Let's talk about that tomorrow. I really like it, though. And then I look at games like Ocarina of Time, and there's some aspect to this in the game, but it's not the core element of the game. From that game, there's a few areas you can't access in the very beginning, but you get items to go to those few areas. Whereas Link's Awakening is, you're kind of not stuck exactly. There's a lot of areas to explore, but there's multiple places that you can't get to. Big areas that are completely blocked off until you get items, which I guess might be considered linear. So that's a potential problem. Would you consider Super Metroid linear, though? I mean, Super Metroid, the ultimate Metroidvania, Castleroid. And it is kind of linear, but there's just, you don't see how linear it is. There's definitely a progression. You have to do this before you can do this. And you can circumnavigate some things intentionally or unintentionally. And then there's some things that you can just skip or bypass or go around or do different ways. But ultimately, there's a progression. You have to do this before you do this. And then if you're the kind of person who goes and he does this boss before that boss because you know some trick that you can utilize, then you're kind of not a hack or a cheat. You're a very skilled player. But the other Legend of Zelda games don't really seem to have this. Now, I haven't played Link's Awakening or A Link to the Past in a very, very long time, but I know that A Link Between Worlds did not have this. Twilight Princess did not have this. The one I just mentioned, Wind Waker, did not have this. I'm not sure about the Oracle games or the Phantom Hourglass, Spirit Tracks. I never played any of the other mobile games. And Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, I don't believe, though, they had any this in this regard, in this degree either. And certainly none of the other Zelda games I played have given me quite that Metroidvania style feeling of experience. So, you know, that's the reason why that is my favorite Legend of Zelda game. I also really, really, really love Twilight Princess because of just the art and the story and the fact that every single aspect of Twilight Princess is incredibly serious. People like to use the word dark. I don't know why. It's not dark. I mean, there's a lot of cheerfulness in the game. There's a lot of lighthearted humor in the game. But it's all serious. There's very, very little. There's a couple tiny exceptions. Very, very little of it is goofy. Everybody looks real. Everybody looks very mature. And it's not like something that's extremely vulgar or graphic, like a Game of Thrones. It's just serious. It's not goofball. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So definitely, I think definitely, I think. You ever notice that people put modifiers on words? Let's talk about that on Thursday? Friday? What day is it? I don't even know. It's been a heck of a week. Well, I think I've been going off on enough tangents now. Let's go ahead and talk about Metroidvanias tomorrow, and then let's talk about people not using definite modifiers. People avoiding those like the plague. And on Friday.